Hi everyone, Kelt here. Meghan's antics regarding her cold-calling US elected officials last week is causing much outrage, not just in the UK, but also very much in the US now. Piers Morgan is demanding that Meghan is stripped of her royal title due to this, and he's kicked off again. He's calling for the Queen to stop the Sussexes from causing such endless damage, and he's demanding the titles be taken away. It was said that Meghan called Senators Susan Collins of Maine and Shelley Moore of West Virginia, who both received unexpected calls from Meghan, and said that Meghan used her title to lobby the cause. A friend of mine, who's a frequent and former US Politico, who has worked at the highest levels for several elected officials across 20 plus years, has contacted me regarding her anger and disbelief at what Meghan is getting away with. She has allowed me to share her feelings on this. She says, and I quote, "Meghan is not allowed to lobby without registering as such a legal lobbyist, and there are rules around what you can and cannot do, can and cannot say, and limits around gifts of any kind, such as lunches, flowers, and gifts." She could be violating US lobbying law, and clearly the elected officials she phones are not responding well to it. They are perplexed as to how Meghan got personal phone numbers of established elected members of Congress and why she felt any obligation to call. She used her title to get them to respond directly to her, and then she proceeds to persuade or lobby over the phone. She says that she is livid that there are no guardrails around Meghan blatantly throwing her titles and weight into the political sector, and that she needs to take a hard step back or become a working registered lobbyist. My previous email I had from my friend was this, with the question, "What is the flaw for the Queen?" She asked, and I quote, "What is the flaw of behaviour for Harry and Meghan in the Queen's eyes? What is too low to go? The Queen really must step in now. Meghan is blatantly using her title to gain access to people she would normally never have access to and trying to influence lawmakers." She says, and I quote again, "How many times is a warning by the Queen disregarded before she takes action and removes these two entitled liars to do whatever the hell they want?" Not only is Meghan blatantly using her British royal titles to call public officials in the US, but I believe she's violating a lobbying law in place. I do not believe Meghan is legally allowed to call a sitting, currently elected official to try and persuade any of them to vote in a particular way. Anyone, paid or not, who tried to persuade an elected official must be registered as a lobbyist. She has no diplomatic immunity to this federal law. Here in Wikipedia, it talks about the Federal Regulation of Lobbying Act of 1946. This is a statute enacted by the United States Congress to reduce the influence of lobbyists. The primary purpose of the Act was to provide information to members of Congress about those that lobby them. The 1946 Act was replaced by the Lobbying Disclosure Act of 1995. It says that any person who shall engage himself or pay for any consideration for the purpose of attempting to influence the passage or defeat of any legislation by the Congress of the United States, shall, before doing anything in furtherance of such object, register with the Clerk of the House of Representatives and the Secretary of the Senate, and give to those officers in writing and under oath his name and business address, the name and address of the person by whom he is employed, and in whose interest he appears or works, the duration of such employment, how much he is paid and is to receive, by whom he is paid or is to be paid, how much he is to be paid for expenses, and what expenses are to be included. In 1954, the Supreme Court upheld the Federal Regulation of Lobbying Act, but narrowed its scope significantly. The court determined that it applied only to paid lobbyists who directly communicated with members of Congress on pending legislation. This created a number of loopholes, including does not regulate people who give money to influence legislation, only those who solicit or collect money. It does not define principally. A lobbyist can argue that his principal goal is not influencing legislation. It does not include those who communicate with congressional staffers. So if Meghan was going to pick an argument with this, it would be over the principal goal is not influencing legislation, when it obviously is to everybody. There's no other reason for her to be doing it. Back to my friend's email, and she says how fed up she is with it and how disappointed she is that a grandmother and the monarch, who has exercised restraint to her advantage for so many years, cannot step up when it's absolutely necessary. And she says it's absolutely necessary now. I'm just stepping in here now to say that many of you know my feelings on this, and I don't believe that the Queen is in a position to act on this or anything. Back to the email, and I quote, "By American law, she cannot lobby without being registered as a lobbyist. We have enough problems in the US, and Meghan needs to take a hard step back. She would not have access to our lawmakers but for her British royal title. Enough is enough." Personally, I'm amazed that she managed to do this and get away with it so far. I would have thought somebody would be taking action by now. The fact that the people she phoned were perplexed and that she had the number and that she actually felt that she could call them and use her title to get to them and then go on to lobby over the phone, if that was me, I would be furious. I believe that one of them was actually on their holiday and was shocked at getting a phone call from Meghan. Right, this is a couple of days later following on from that video, and as you can probably tell, my voice is starting to come back. So, as this is a couple of days on, I have an update on the information. It seems that any person can spend up to 20% of their time lobbying members of Congress, paid or unpaid, but once it goes beyond that, official forms are needed to be filled out and verified on several levels. Firstly, US Senate, and then to the US Congress to request a lobbyist ID, so members are fully aware that there is a professional agenda and conversation goal to take place if they speak to said lobbyist. So it looks as though this is yet another way that Meghan could wriggle out of taking responsibility for this. It seems as though nothing is likely to happen unless the people she called take it further, which seems unlikely, or if maybe a member of the public takes it further. My friend is very disappointed in the lack of oversight to curb random non-experts from lobbying elected officials, even at 20%. She says to me, imagine if every public citizen spent 20% of their time doing this, nothing would get done. So my friend says that as technically there is no law being broken, we are still left with every person she called wondering why and why her. And as far as how she got the phone numbers, it was said that it was Senator Kirsten Gillibrand who revealed to Politico that she was the one who gave their phone numbers to Meghan. Although this was over a week ago, questions are still being asked and the frustration is still there about what Meghan is allowed to get away with. My friend is asking, why was Meghan Markle, a non-expert in anything on a federal legislative level, given personal cell phone numbers of publicly elected officials, and should it be allowed? Apparently, if a member receives a call, letter or meeting from a self-proclaimed or unclaimed lobbyist, they can call the Legislative Resource Office to inquire about whether a person is a registered lobbyist or not, and which clients they represent. Now that we know that Meghan is probably only just within the law in this, there is the question of her title and the fact that she used it in a different country. My question is, surely with someone with such a title and closely connected to the royal family of another country, surely they would not be able to do any lobbying at all due to a conflict of interest. How can she say that she was phoning as a mother when she still clings on to royal connections when it suits her? She's a duchess of a foreign country and yet is interfering with the politics of another country. So I would think it was illegal from that point of view. From the point of view of the UK,
then it was stipulated by the Queen that she should not use that title, especially in a political scenario. And then when you realise and when you think that it's not even in the same country, but in a foreign country, technically, that she is using that title, it's ridiculous. Meghan had a year to come good with this not using titles, and it's long past that. What do you think? Why is this happening? Let me have your thoughts on all of this, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Please subscribe. Ding my bell for more alerts for more videos. Like if you liked it and share. Bye.